Okay, so you are Maurice and Maurice Heitzman, and would you want to first just give me a little background, your personal background?
My personal background is I was born and raised in Indianapolis. I married my wife in 1972, been married ever since. Moved here to Fishers in 1974, so we've been here for 40 years in the same house.
Okay.
So we're quite comfortably settled in. I've been active in the Fishers community during all that time. Back in the early 80s, restarted the Fishers JCs, was twice president of it. I got involved in the fire department as a result of recruiting at the fire station, so I ended up in the fire department for 15 years because they had a lack of resources, and I was always one that said, either if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So 15 years in the fire department, and including all the way up to assistant chief of EMS and rescue. I've been involved in Boy Scouts now for 26 years in the community, and so I now oversee 31 Scout units.
Okay.
So I have a lot of contact with the people.
Sure. And what is your professional background? What
professional background is I'm an engineer.
An engineer. Okay.
I've been specializing in transportation for the last several years. Before that, I did some development. Prior to that, subdivision layout. And prior to that, coal mining.
Okay. Quite a wide range. Okay, well, what do you think of all of that qualifies you to be mayor of Fishers?
But I understand the needs for the infrastructure. I've designed infrastructure and planned it for many years, and that's a big component. I understand people. I understand what their needs are. I understand what their wants and likes and dislikes are. I'm a pretty good communicator with people, have to be with the number of people I deal with on an everyday basis. I understand the family values, the community values, the image. So with all those technical and personal and social issues put together, I think I have a pretty good package encompassing the whole span of what the mayor does.
Okay.
That I can be a pretty good image for the mayor, and I can be a very good lobbyist and communicator for the town.
What qualities do you think you possess that the other candidates don't?
I believe I am very capable of looking at issues from multiple angles and seeing it from various perspectives and seeing the immediate and the long-term effects of each of the decisions. I have no history with the developers and other special interests that the town is doing business with. So I'm coming with a clean slate. I don't owe anybody anything. I can make decisions that are either in their favor or adverse to their favor. But my main commitment is to the people and to what's good for the city of Fishers.
What do you think is the single most important issue for Fishers moving forward?
Well, that's hard. That depends on what perspective you're looking at. I think the biggest single issue is the quality of life. If you don't have the quality of life, you're going to lose your residents and you're going to lose your business both. And without that, you have no town, no city, no community. So I think the quality of life is the number one issue. But that includes so many things, including public safety and so many areas that are wrapped up into that.
What do you hope to accomplish in your first year? And as I understand it, you're going to have to, whoever does become mayor has to immediately go back into campaigning. So it's kind of a short span there. So what do you hope to accomplish right off the bat in the first year?
In the first year, I'd like to establish a pattern as to where we're going. I think we need to really develop a real solid basis of what the town, what the city wants to do and where we're going, and establish a really solid personnel and then a progressive plan and get it in place for any future mayors, city councils to follow. And that includes a thoroughfare plan, because we have traffic issues that are becoming worse daily. And that being one of my specialty areas, that's an area I can really make a real contribution to. We have an engineering department. We have a very good engineering department. But having somebody at the top who understands what their limitations are, what they can do, and how I can go out and get them more resources, because there's a lot of resources available through Federal Highway and through NDOT that not everybody's aware of, and I've been doing that for many years.
Okay, two-part question. What makes Fishers a good community? What makes it special? And on the other hand, what is the biggest problem? What needs to be addressed?
What makes it special? Well, I kind of go back to when we moved up here in 1974. It was 610 people. But you was here and you had a real sense of community. You had neighborhoods that people went out and talked to each other. You knew somebody 2-3 blocks away. And that kind of sense of community makes it very strong, makes it very safe. So the community and the quality of life is what really makes Fisher so special. As far as what is not so great about it right now, what's the problem about it right now is it's become so divided because I think about the politics. There's so many factions going on, and people don't like what they're seeing happening. They don't feel like they feel like they've been betrayed. I'll use the municipal complex issue. The green space that they were told to be there unless it was needed for a governmental building was turned around and given away. And they really feel betrayed over that. So we have to reestablish a sense of trust. And that's a big issue right now. We have a real lack of connection between the people and our currently town government, which what will be a city government. So reestablishing that connection is going to be very, very critical.
Okay. Long range, describe the Fishers of 10 years from now in your vision.
10 years from now, we'll have more buildings, we'll have wider roads, we'll have more houses, more businesses. But the character of the city, I don't believe, will change drastically in 10 years. If we was looking 30 years out, I think it'd be a whole lot more drastic. And I see less dependence on office buildings at that point, maybe a little bit more dependence on warehousing and light manufacturing. But in the next 10 years, I see it basically progressing as an increase in buildings and businesses and people like we've had over the last 40 years. But somewhere between the next 10 and 30 years, we're going to see a transition that's going to be more remarkable than over the next 10 years.
So 20 years, 30 years, you see a bigger change.
I see a bigger change.
And what do you see then?
I see taller buildings. I see a new way of building communities where it's more compact, because we need to start preserving our land. I see in 30 years, I see mass transit being in the picture. I actually see that probably coming in about 20 years. Mass transit is going to become very critical as we are trying to keep the air quality good, conserve fuel, make it more accessible to people to get to Indianapolis. We are a satellite community, what we used to call a bedroom community, but we've kind of overgrown that. So I see that as a real catalyst in the future, but we've got to change people's mindsets about using public transportation, rail, whether it's rail, light rail, or bus service. But we've got to change people's attitudes towards it.
In terms of you are in favor, or you are?
I am in favor of mass transit. But it has to be the right mass transit. I would like to see light rail. Of course, our legislature took that off the table right now, but I believe that will come back into the picture as they get more realistic about it.
Okay. And finally, why do you want to be mayor?
I want to be mayor because I became very displeased with our town management as we have it now. I don't like the way they've been going. I don't like some of the items they've done as common practice. I believe we need a very strong ethics and integrity in the government, and I'm not sure that we have that to the extent that I would like to see it. There are things going on that I believe are very, very questionable and should be looked at very closely. And one of them is one that the current brought out to everybody's attention earlier this week. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right.